Chapter 41. Caspar held me close to his chest and pulled me away from the door. Anxiously, he looked around the room and then dragged me to the far side of the room and placed me in the corner. Taking my shoulders, he looked at me and said, "Stay here and do not move." "Why? What is happening?" I asked. "I can hear Nico in the corridor fighting," Caspar said. "What?" I replied, straining my ears to hear something. Suddenly, there was a loud bang, and the doors at the other side of the room flew open. Nico stepped into the room and pointed out towards the veranda. "The bastard went outside." Caspar nodded and turned back to me. "Stay here where it is safe and I will come back for you." "You are leaving me alone?" I asked, confused and frightened. "Hazel?" Caspar said softly, catching my hand and bringing it to his lips. "I went to great cost to have this room enchanted for this evening." "Wait, what do you mean, enchantment?" I asked. "Enchantment? I mean, magic is real, Hazel. Very few people know how to do it, and I had to especially go into the mountains to find this crazy old witch who could place a temporary enchantment on this room. The witch made it so that only members of the royal family and their guards can enter its threshold tonight. So I promise you that when I go through that door, I am not leaving you unprotected." A million questions sprung into my mind, but by the urgent look on Caspar and Nico's faces, I knew now was not the time for questioning. "Okay," I murmured dryly. Caspar smiled uneasily and pressed a kiss against my knuckles. "I promise you, I will return," he said. The light bulbs above us flickered, and then the power went dead. Caspar and Nico exchanged grim looks and then headed through the open doorway and out onto the veranda. I waited in the corner of the room, listening to every noise and creak that echoed around the large, empty bar. With the power gone, the only light that lit the room was the warm amber glow of the tea lights from the function room that crept through the open door. I tried to keep out of the light, keeping to the shadows and hoping and praying that Caspar would come back to me soon. Suddenly, I heard a door from within the function room open and close. Heavy footfall preceded it, and then through the doorway, I saw the cast of a man's shadow across the function room's floor. I held my breath and hoped it was Caspar. But I had this sinking feeling in my gut that this was the stranger who had eluded Nico. Caspar had said the room was enchanted and that I would be safe even if the person was a stranger. But I couldn't help feel skeptical about this magic's nonsense. Quickly, I glanced around the room searching for possible exits, just in case this enchantment proved to be false. There was a single fire exit on the far side of the room, but it had been blocked by a large armchair. Part of me thought about attempting to sneak across the room and try to escape through the exit, but I realized there was no way of moving that chair without drawing attention to myself. It was too big and cumbersome to be lifted and set aside quietly, so I remained in the dark watching the shadow of the man becoming sharper and more defined as the man drew closer. Taking a step back, I moved deeper into the shadows of the room, towards a narrow long table that was draped in a thin, flimsy metallic tablecloth. The table was pressed up against the side of the wall and had a series of upturned glasses arranged along it. I began to lift the corner of the tablecloth when the shadow paused. I stopped, fearing the rustling of the tablecloth would draw unwanted attention towards me. The shadow quivered slightly and then changed shape as the man lifted his arm up. The air inside the room began to move and swirl, and in 1 second, a cold and unnatural wind blew violently through the room, extinguishing all the lights from inside the function room. The room was plunged into darkness, and I quickly crouched and ducked underneath the table to hide. The flimsy metallic tablecloth fell down behind me, which helped to conceal my hiding place. I backed up against the wall and watched through the thin material as the figure of a man filled the doorway. The moon was still shining, and with its silvery light I was able to spy some details of this stranger. He was the same height as Caspar, but he had much longer and fairer hair than Caspar. He lingered in the doorway, and I prayed Caspar's enchantment would work. The man seemed to stay put on the door's threshold for a few moments. I watched behind the tablecloth, waiting to see if he would turn away. Silently, I willed him to go away, but he did not go. Instead, he lingered in the doorway, doing nothing. I took comfort in the fact he had not entered the room and prayed that he stayed outside until Caspar returned. "Charlotte?" he called out across the room. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up, and my eyes widened with fear. How did he know my name? Oh my God, he was looking for me. The situation turned even graver when the stranger took his first step into the room. He repeated my name, and I watched his head turn as he scanned the room for me. I kept still, not even daring to breath. "Charlotte, you must come to me now and—" He stopped mid-sentence and turned around to look out across the veranda. With a frustrated groan, he ran out of the room and disappeared. Then seconds later, a dozen fully armed guards appeared in the room. These guards were different from the guards I had seen with Henrietta. They moved around the room then withdrew back into the main function room. "Did you get him?" I heard Nico's voice say. "No," a guard replied. "We just missed him." "What about the princess?" This time, it was Casper's voice. He sounded upset and worried. He rushed into the bar and began frantically calling my name. "I am under here," I said, emerging from under the table. Caspar breathed a heavy sigh of relief and crossed the room, pulling me into his arms. "I am so sorry, Hazel," he said, stroking my hair. "We run into the guards after we had left you. I had no idea. I would have never have left you." "The enchantment didn't work," I said bluntly. "I know. It's not meant to work on guards or the royal family, and that man was my brother," Caspar said. "That was Louis?" I asked. "No," Caspar said, his voice trembling. "It was Caspar. He's got out. He managed to break out of prison." Chapter 42. The next hour was chaos. Guards came and went, bringing with them new pieces of information about Caspar's escape, while the diners were quickly evacuated from the restaurant under the pretense that there had been a fire. Standing out on the private veranda, I had watched annoyed customers being led out of the restaurant by very apologetic staff who did their best to try and mollify the anger and disappointment of the diners whose evening had been cut short. The people looked over their shoulders as they walked to their cars and to steal a glimpse of the strange, solitary girl standing alone on the veranda. Although I wasn't really alone. 5 guards were stood in the shadows watching over me as my husband discussed important matters inside. What kind of matters I was unsure of, because Caspar would not tell me. He had told me that Caspar had escaped, and that the prison guards would stay with us until the palace guards arrived to escort us to a safe place. After that, I was sent outside onto the veranda with several guards so that Caspar and Nico could discuss the details of the escape with the prison guards. I didn't know why I wasn't included in on the conversation, but I had a feeling that Caspar wanted to spare me any unpleasant details that might be too violent for my sensitive ears. Before I had walked outside, Caspar had shrugged off his suit jacket and draped it around my shoulders. Then he had held me close and promised to me in hushed whispers, "Don't worry, Hazel. I will get you out of here as soon as I can. I will never let this happen to you again. I swear. I will protect you. I promise. I swear." I had rested my head on his chest and listened to him and silently thought, "You cannot save me." After that, I had gone outside and stood on the veranda and took in the view. Nico had been right earlier when he had said that an autumn storm was rolling it. Over the mountains, heavy blankets of thick clouds appeared, and the sky became a bleak, dark, inky gray. The storm clouds began to devour the night sky, and the brightness of the moon's silver light began to wane. The forest disappeared into solid black, and I could no longer see what lay ahead. So I looked backwards at the familiar lights of the restaurant and the people walking to their cars, getting ready to go home. They watched me as I watched them, and secretly I longed to be them. I secretly wished that I could turn back the hands of time so that I never went to that stupid graveyard, or stood under that tree. I wished I had never been turned into a vampire, or that I had been cursed with seeing the dead. I wished I was human again. I was trapped between 2 worlds, not really belonging to either. I was born a human and made a vampire. And because I was born a human, I never really felt like a vampire, but because I was made a vampire, I was no longer a human. So here I am, a creature of 2 worlds, belonging to both while belonging to neither. The human world was boring, while the vampire world was novel, but at least the human world was safe. Both Nico and Henrietta had warned me that the vampire world was a dangerous one, and I had never doubted that danger, but I never dreamed that the danger would one day have a name or a face. Caspar was the danger, and the danger was looking for me. Standing out in the cold night air, I closed my eyes and remembered Caspar's voice calling to me. Caspar had been searching for me, but why? Caspar had been thrown into prison and cut off from the rest of the world, yet somehow he knew my name and knew where I would be. How could that be? "You should come in now, it looks like rain." I opened my eyes and saw Nico standing next to me, leaning against his elbows on the wooden railing that edged the veranda. His sudden presence made me jump a step sideways, and I had to stop myself from cursing at him in fright. How do you do that? I eventually snapped at him. Do you have a creeper superpower or something? Nico ignored my childish remark and shrugged nonchalantly. I've been alive long enough to know how to move quietly and quickly around other vampires. Chapter 43. My heart dropped into my stomach and I felt the ground moving beneath me. My knees buckled and I nearly crumpled to the floor, but Nico quickly swept his arm around my waist and prevented my fall. He held on tightly and said, I know it's not what you wanted to hear, but this is what you need to hear. If you don't help Caspar, then Louis will take extreme measures to make sure that he never hurts another living being. But why? It doesn't make sense, I managed weakly. Casper is his brother. Louis is king, and as king he has to put his realm first. Louis has to make choices based on the well-being of the court. Why do you think he married Henrietta? Louis could have followed Celia into the afterlife, but he didn't. Without Louis, there were only 2 male heirs left, and neither of them were fit to rule. Casper was in prison, and Caspar was barely able to control the darkness inside him. So, Louis put aside his own personal misery for the benefit of the crown. He married a woman he hated, so that she would be able to give him the heirs he needed to ensure the survival of the crown. Louis makes choices based on what is best for the crown, not what is best for him, even if it means killing his own brother. Nico said. I shook my head in disbelief. This is too much. It is too extreme. Why does Caspar have to die? Why is the crown so important that people have to die to protect it? I snapped. Because you do not know what it is like to live in a power vacuum where there is no crown to enforce order or peace, Nico said impatiently. Do you really want to know how I learned to sneak about without being heard? The answer is, I had no choice. I grew up in the vacuum between the fall of the old empire and the rise of the new empire, where there were no kings. All there was were the warlords who fought amongst each other, destroying whoever and whatever got in their way. Whether it was another warlord, their army, a city, a town, a family. Nico stopped and squeezed his eyes shut and took a breath. It seemed like his was willing away a bad memory or painful flashback, because his face tensed with an expression close to pain and grief. He took a moment, then opened his eyes and looked at me and said, You have no idea about the world. You're just a child. The way he called me a child was done in a way which implied no insult, but instead a kind of jealousy. The only way I could describe it was as if Nico envied the innocence I possessed, and he had lost. He turned away from me and continued, Vampires can only live peacefully under strong royal dynasties. A strong royal family can ensure centuries, if not a millennia, of peace and stability. Before the old empire fell, the whole of North and Central America had been ruled over by a great Mayan empress for over 1,000 years. I still don't understand why Caspar has to die if I fail. I mean, if Caspar was a danger, then couldn't the guards contain him like Caspar or something? I asked. It would be too much of a risk. Caspar's condition is rare. There have only ever been 2 vampires prior to him who were afflicted with this condition. The first you know about which is Queen Rhoda, who was able to control the darkness with the help of the king. The second person is someone you don't know. A prince called Tuta, Tuta the Terrible. Prince Tuta was Queen Rhoda's uncle, and he earned his name 700 years ago when he succumbed to the darkness and destroyed an entire city. According to reports, the earth split in 2 and the city was swallowed up by the ground, killing everyone, including Tuta and his mother, the Great Empress. In a single night, Tuta not only destroyed a city, but caused the fall of the longest-running vampire empire in history. The only person to survive Prince Tuta's rampage was his sister, Caspar's grandmother, who was still a child at the time. She survived and lived on to tell the story. Nico explained. Caspar would never do that. Caspar isn't like that, I argued. Didn't this Prince Tuta have a maid or something? Maybe that was the reason he snapped. Nico shook his head. Tuta had a mate and 3 children. Caspar's grandmother said that after Tuta had turned dark, he had sought out his mate and children and murdered them. My mouth went dry and I whispered unsteadily, Tuta murdered his own mate and kids? Nico nodded. Tuta killed all his family except his sister. I raised my hand, unable to listen to another word. My stomach was churning and I was unable to concentrate. My heart was screaming. Caspar would never hurt us like that, but my mind was not as nearly convinced. The darkness that existed inside Caspar was the same that existed inside Tuta, and that meant Caspar could turn on me. I know, probably shouldn't have told you that, Nico said, placing a hand on my shoulder. I shrugged his hand off of me immediately like it was burning my skin, and swayed unsteadily on my feet. The ground beneath my feet felt like it was rolling, and across the way I heard a voice calling to me. Hazel? I looked up and saw Caspar striding towards me, but his face kept blurring in and out of focus. Strange white lights began to dance across my vision, and suddenly, my legs and arms felt like dead weights. I tried to move, but instead saw the ground rushing towards me. Caspar shouted my name, and the world around me turned black. Chapter 44. No, no, no. Hazel, come on, come back to me, Caspar called to me. I tried to get back to him, but found myself drifting in and out of consciousness. 1 minute I was there looking up at Caspar's face. Then the next I was gone, then I was back again. But this time, Nico was leaning over me with a cell phone. This is an emergency. Divert the helicopter here now, Nico yelled into the phone, then looked down at me and spoke softly. Hold on, Hazel. The helicopter? Why were they calling a helicopter? Was I injured? Or even worse, dying? Warm fingertips suddenly caressed my cheek and distracted me from anxious train of thought. I looked up and saw Caspar's face ashen with worry. He trying to keep it together, but I could see that he was falling apart. His arms tightened around me, drawing me closer to his chest, and felt the heat from his body radiating through his shirt onto my skin and warming me up. Everyone please stand and give the princess some breathing room, I heard Nico yell. We were on the cold, wet wooden decking of the veranda, surrounded by at least a dozen guards surrounded us with concerned expressions, exchanging worrying glances with each other. Nico whirled around them, barking orders at them in effort to move them away from us and give Caspar and I space and privacy. Caspar held me close and looked down at me with wide, worried eyes and asked, How are you feeling? I feel like I want to blow chunks all over your expensive shirt, I replied, trying to force a smile. Caspar didn't seem to appreciate the humor and yelled at one of the guards. Can't you get a blanket or something? She is fucking freezing. I winced in his arms, his voice loud and painful in my ears. Caspar saw my pained expression and immediately swore at himself and said, Sorry, Hazel, I didn't mean to hurt you. I smiled weakly back up at him and replied, I am the one who should be sorry. What? Why the hell would you think that? Caspar asked, surprised. Because your pain is so much worse than mine, I replied. Caspar's eyebrows knitted together in confusion, and he said, I am not in pain, Hazel. Lifting my hand, I reached up and touched his face. I know about Caspar and how much he meant to you. Caspar stiffened and lifted his head to shoot Nico, who was ordering guards about. He then turned back to me and gently stroked my hair. It was a long time ago, Hazel, he said firmly. I gazed back at him sadly and said, Time doesn't matter to the heart. I know you were grieving. I could see it when you were talking to the guards back at the restaurant. Guilt swept over Caspar's face, and he didn't know what to say. He was in pain but couldn't express it. He didn't know how to, after so many years of being locked up in some back wing of the palace without any kind of normal loving relationship. I couldn't help but feel sorry for him. My eyes began to well up and tears started to roll down my face. Caspar immediately reacted by leaning down and brushing a kiss against my forehead. Please stop this, Hazel. You are tearing my heart apart. He exhaled roughly. I can't help it, I said, wiping my eyes. Look, Caspar said, shifting me in his arms. I am going to get us out of here, and after that, we can put this behind us. We will never have to talk about him again. Caspar, you don't need to protect me from Caspar. He never hurt me. You were the one that was hurt by him. Okay, but right now that doesn't matter. Right now, you are the one who needs help, Caspar said firmly. We all need help, Caspar. And I don't know if I can help you, but I want you to know that whatever terribleness you are going through, you don't need to go through it alone, I said. Words failed Caspar as he struggled to express himself. Everything about him tonight had been a front. He had stood there and spoken to the guards while putting on this brave front which made him seem in control of the situation. But I knew about the crippling misery that existed inside him, and I knew that it was eating him from the inside out. Whatever Caspar was feeling right now, I didn't want him to hide it from me. I don't want you to hide your pain from me, I said softly. Caspar looked at me and his eyes softened in a kind of momentary thanks, but then something unpleasant flickered across his mind and his dark eyes grew cold. How can you say that to me, Hazel, when you have chosen to hide your own mind from me? Caspar said. In the blink of an eye, the closeness that existed between us evaporated, and suddenly, it was back to feeling like we were two strangers forced together through circumstance. My heart dropped, and a terrible sadness overcame me. Caspar, I began, but Caspar quickly shot me down. Don't you think it's hypocritical to want me to bare my heart and soul to you, when you are not even willing to reach out to me when you are in danger? Caspar asked, then continued. When you saw Caspar, you chose to crawl and hide under a table rather than using your mind to reach out and call for me to help. Caspar, that's not fair, I replied. Caspar ignored me and snapped. Did it ever occur to you once while you were hiding under that table that you could have come to me for help? My mind blinked and I had no idea how to respond. He couldn't understand why I had not reached out to him in my moment of need. It must have seemed so stupid to him that I had hid under a table like a sitting duck waiting to be killed, when I could have opened my mind to him and he could have come to rescue me. I looked up at him, desperate to explain, but I had nothing. I couldn't tell him anything without exposing myself, so I said nothing. When Caspar realized no explanation was forthcoming, his face became an unreadable mask of stone, and inside I felt my heart breaking. Chapter 45. High above in the dark night sky, the faint thrum of helicopter blades could be heard in the distance. Caspar motioned to Nico, who was still ordering the prison guards about. Nico came over to where we were and waited for Caspar's command. Take Hazel back to the palace and have the doctor check her over, Caspar said. I sat up in his arms and asked, Are you not coming with me? Caspar curtly replied, No, I have other matters to attend to. The distance in his voice and the coldness in his eyes were killing me. I wanted to be near him. I wanted to be with him, but he was purposefully pushing me away. I couldn't help but feel Caspar was trying to punish me for closing my mind to him. Caspar, I breathed in a broken voice, but Caspar wasn't prepared to listen. He stood up with me in his arms and handed me over to Nico as if I was a doll. Caspar then, with a parting glance, he said, I will see you later. Then I watched him leave. And with each step he took, my heart felt like it was in a vice that was slowly and agonizingly being turned, so it squeezed and tightened painfully. I swallowed back a cry, and I wrapped my arms around Nico's neck and quickly pressed my face against his neck to hide the tears that were threatening to fall. Nico stiffened uncomfortably and asked, Are you crying? Just shut up and don't ask me any more questions, I murmured into his shirt collar. Nico made a noise that was crossed between a groan and an irritated sigh, and then began to walk back through the restaurant to the parking lot. The restaurant and the car park were now completely clear, as all the guests had been ushered off the premises. Only a few bemused members of staff remained behind to clear up the half-uneaten plated of food that had been left behind. Do they know what we are? I asked Nico curiously. They know enough to know that we're not entirely like them, Nico replied. I watched the staff over Nico's shoulders as they hovered about the periphery of the room, and I wondered what they think about Nico carrying me through the restaurant. But none of staff said or did anything except continue to tidy up. In fact, I noticed that the members of staff didn't even look at us when they passed through. It seemed like they were told not to ask questions or make comments. Do many people know about us? I asked. No, and we like to keep it that way, Nico replied. We walked through the rest of the building until we came to the side entrance that led into the parking lot. Nico tactfully kicked open the side door of the restaurant and exited outside, where an unfamiliar SUV was parked. Nico paused, scanning the unfamiliar vehicle, but relaxed when the door was flung open, and Henrietta emerged with several of her guards. A smile crept across my face as she ran towards us, tottering precariously in stiletto heels. Oh, Hazel, I came as soon as I heard, she gasped, then registered that Nico was holding me. Oi, I passed out. I quickly explained, reading her expression. Henrietta reached out and took my hand in a comforting gesture. You poor thing, you must be in a state of shock, she said. I'm fine. I just don't know why I fainted, I said. Oh, it must because of the stress, Henrietta suggested. I mean, I couldn't believe that he escaped and that he came looking for you after what he did to your poor friend. I paused, picking up on the last few words that she had spoken. Your poor friend. Furrowing my eyebrows together, I looked at her and asked, What do you mean? What are you talking about, my poor friend? Well, I know she wasn't really your friend, but it is still a tragedy nevertheless, Henrietta said. Henrietta, I don't know what you were talking about. What friend? What tragedy? I said, feeling my patience running thin. Henrietta glanced at Nico and said, You didn't tell her? Nico hesitated and said, There has been a lot for all of us to deal with, and I didn't think it was the right time. The sick feeling of that something was terribly wrong was clawing at my insides again. What are you talking about? I asked again in a much weaker voice. Both Nico and Henrietta exchanged looks, and then Henrietta said, Look, Hazel, I don't know how to tell you this, and I don't want to upset you, but something really bad happened tonight before Casper came looking for you. Like what? I asked numbly. Oh, Hazel, we think that after Duke was taken to the palace this morning, he somehow slipped the guards and managed to break out Casper and tell him everything about you and that girl. What? I murmured in disbelief. We are pretty sure that Duke was the one who betrayed us. He was the one who set Casper free, and he was the one who told Casper where to find you. Duke knew that Casper was taking you to dinner tonight because he had helped Casper set up the dinner arrangements. Henrietta explained. Numbly, I recalled Nico telling me that Duke had helped Caspar pick out this place and help decorate it. But even then, with this information, I didn't want to believe Henrietta, because Duke had protected me even when Caspar was beating the living hell out him. No, this isn't right, I replied. I am so sorry, Hazel. Duke freed Casper and he told him about that girl, Olivia McAdam. Casper went to the hospital where Olivia was, and Henrietta's voice broke and she couldn't finish her sentence. She mouthed an apology and turned away to hide the tears that were now falling down her face. Olivia's dead? I breathed. Henrietta turned back and replied, Yes, I am so sorry, Hazel. Ice began to fill my veins and I struggled to breath. I gripped onto Nico's shirt but felt the world spinning again. Looking up at Nico, I whispered, I think I am going to pass out. My eyes drifted back to Henrietta and I immediately suppressed a scream. As I looked at Henrietta, I could see Olivia McAdam standing behind her in a pale green hospital gown with a great wide gaping hole in her chest where her heart once was. Olivia lifted her head, her face covered in blood where the arteries and blood vessels must have spurted and leaked when Caspar had pulled the organ from her chest, and she said, You killed me, you fucking bitch.